students. We have an excellent presentation today, so I'd like you to give your undivided attention to our speaker. Today we have Jeff Baumgartner from Clark County, a detective there, that will be introducing our speaker. He was very instrumental in having Mr. Jennings here, so if we could give a round of applause.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited today to introduce Dr. Joseph Jennings. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the school, Mr. Stransky, Mr. Montgomery, and the Clark County Department of Social Services. Some other people are here today, and also to the Sheriff's Department, who's been very supportive in having Dr. Jennings come here today. I'm not going to go on and on forever and cut into his time, but I had the opportunity to meet and be introduced to Dr. Joseph Jennings many years ago, before the doctor part was at the beginning of his name. When I was younger than you guys are, my sister brought home a tape for me, a cassette tape on a man that she had seen in school. And she gave me that tape, and I had never even seen him. And I listened to that tape over and over and over and over again. No story different than many of you guys. I grew up in a broken home, alcoholic father. Very easily could have taken the wrong road. And I know 100% without a doubt that I owe the success in my life to this man. He gave me the strength to stand up against many of the things, many of the problems that you guys face now. So I'm very fortunate to have known him. I was able to see him speak a couple of times. It's been a couple of years since the last time I saw him. So this is quite an honor for me to have him here and give his message to you guys. So I would like to introduce Dr. Joseph Jennings.
Oh, somebody caught that. How about a hand clap for my homeboy? Come back up here, Jeff. I stopped and got him a t-shirt. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, so I had to make sure we bought him something from Atlanta. It's amazing that this young man, actually it was 20 years ago, to put an age on me, 20 years ago, I used to live up here in Marshville, Wisconsin, and I've spoken probably the majority of all the schools in the area. And I came to his school and he had heard my tape, and there was a spoken word, and I was so blessed that, I don't know, a year ago, he emailed me and said, I heard you speak years ago, and I've got your tape, and I want another tape, and then, you know, on and on and on. But what's so powerful about that is the fact that he heard a word. I never really knew until we started talking that the reason why he didn't drink, the reason why he made good choices about his life was because of a person speaking the word. So how about a hand clap for my boy? I'm proud of him. I'm proud that he's a police officer. I'm proud that he's a police officer. A lot of times I collaborate with police officers. They used to be my enemy. When I was a bad boy, they used to be my enemy. We were enemies, and once I turned into a good boy, I found that the power of an officer. Let me challenge you. We don't have time to go into it, but let me challenge you, not so much in this community, but a lot of places that I go, people view the police as the enemy, and the police is not the enemy. The police are actually ministers in the community. So I want to challenge you to kind of dispel that there's a thing in the black community called no snitch, that regardless of what anyone does, we're not going to tell the police. So let me just throw that out there for you so you'll understand it. My name is Dr. Joseph Jennings. I'm a national motivational speaker. I'm currently on tour of the United States and other countries. I speak at high schools and middle schools primarily about issues that affect today's young people. There are some of you that are sitting here right now that when you walk out of here today, you're going to say what he talked about I can relate to because of the fact of what you're going through. I'm not moved by what grade you are. I'm not moved by you. I am telling you, those of you that are sitting here right now, if you'll understand what I'm saying, it can change your life. No one never came to my school. I never had a principal. I never had anybody, for the most part, that really thought I could make it. As a matter of fact, they told me I would die before I was 21 years old. Now I got 3 rules, so I want to make sure that you know my rules so that we don't be tripping later on. You can finish doing our hair later on. If you're sitting here If you got a notebook or whatever, rule number one, I want you to close your notebooks. We're going to have an assembly. It's going to go extremely fast. It's going to be over. But I'm going to promise you, though, I'm going to present a case to you and allow you to do whatever you want to do with that. If you're here today, whatever choice you want to make about your life, I don't have a problem with it. But I got rules. That's rule number one. I don't want you to turn around, tripping, doing all that kind of stuff. Rule number two, for 1 hour, maybe 45 minutes normally, I'm going to be the teacher. I believe that knowledge is power. I believe that the way that you get knowledge is through the sharing and gathering of information. I might not be the best speaker in the world, but I've got a lot of information. I've been through a lot. I've written 3 books, one about my life, and I'll get into it in a minute. You about done with that hair, baby? You about done with her hair? You about done with that hair? Okay, I don't want you braiding while I'm speaking. Okay, that's not gonna get it. Okay, that's not gonna get it at all. I didn't just come here to say something. I got something to say. I believe it's a lie when people look at you and say that you guys are not going through anything. That's a lie. So I want to challenge you as we get started. I have a third rule. If I need to impose that third rule, there's a lot of places I go to that the schools are completely out of control. There are police officers and a lot of gang things going on, the drug things going on, but nevertheless, it doesn't make a difference to me because that's where I come from. So I'm not trying to impress anybody today. I'm going to tell you part of my story. I'm not trying to make you do anything. I'm not going to twist your arm. I do want to say before I get started, I believe that you're a kid. I believe that every one of you that is sitting here right now, as long as you go to school, you are just a kid. I want you to know that it's okay to be a kid. But at the same time, I'm going to challenge you. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, you're just a kid. And when you're a kid, you ought to be having fun. This ought to be the time of your life. If you're going to prom, there's going to be a graduation. This ought to be a time when you can look back years from now and say, you know what? I had a real good time. But you know what? There's a bunch of you that are sitting here right now. You can't say that because you're not having fun. As a matter of fact, there's some of you that are sitting here right now that are depressed, devastated, and I'm telling you, unless you lay a foundation down, unless you get correct information, you will not make it. So I want to challenge you to rethink the way you think. Okay, so we want to get started. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. But let me ask you a question. Let's do a survey before we get started. Just very quickly, how many of you that are sitting here right now have already drank or tasted beer, wine, or liquor before? Let me see here. Anybody ever drank or tasted beer? Okay, there you go. White boy got 2 hands up. All right, put them down, put them down. Look up here. Watch this here. Now, normally y'all kind of reserved, and that's okay, but I go into schools, man, where there might be 2,000 kids, and they jump up and they scream. I mean, they holler. They just wave and chew hands. I had a boy jump on top of the bleachers one day and said, my name is Mr. Bud. You know what I'm talking about? So the thing, now watch this here. It doesn't blow my mind that so many young folks have drank before. What blows my mind is the fact that we have kids that are proud of it. And here's what I want to present to you. The first thing I want to talk about. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, you're just like me. My mama told me, as much as I love my mama told me that when I was a kid, that it was okay for me to drink in moderation. My mother lied to me. My mother gave me the wrong information. And in one of my books, I talk about drinking, getting drunk as a little bitty kid. My mama never knew that it would open up the door for me to be a dope addict for 14 years of my life. It's a gateway drug, but alcohol is a drug. And I'm saying to those of you that are sitting here right now, I used to follow my mom around for years. I mean, as a little bitty boy, but I've always been a thug. I was always out there fighting, and I would follow my mom around. I love my mama so much. I would follow my mama to taverns, and I would sit outside, me and my brother, and some nights, the lights would go off and I would go in and I would look for my mama, and my mama would be on the floor drunk. She would be passed out, and sometimes she would vomit on herself or go to the bathroom on herself. But I loved my mama, and I would get down on my knees and I would wipe my mama up, and I would pick my mama up, and I would take my mama home, and then I would watch my daddy beat my mama. Other nights there would be a fight inside the tavern, and invariably my mama would get drunk and they'd want to fight everybody. Me and my brother would go inside the tavern, and my brother and I would fight grown men, take my mama home, and watch my daddy beat my mama down. My mama was an alcoholic, and she lied to me. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, and you've been lied to as well. You can smile and you can joke about it all you want. Some of you drink all the time, but I'm telling you, there's some of you that have been through what I went through, and you're going through it now because your parents, either they're alcoholics or they drink all the time, and now you're carrying on and you're repeating the curse. I'm telling you today that there's a price you have to pay for that. Every one of you that are sitting here right now, there's a price that you have to pay.
There's some of you that are sitting here right now, you hear what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not researching, and I know that some of you are depressed. I know that some of you are going through hell. I know that some of you have parents that are just like my parents. Although I love them, they gave me the wrong information. I want to challenge you today to rethink the way that you're thinking. I want to challenge you as a senior that when you leave this high school and you walk out to the real world, you don't got no monkey on your back, because they will snatch you and suck you up and you'll never make it out there. You'll never make it. You're just a kid. Listen to me. It's okay to be a kid. But there's a process that one day there's no proverb that says, when I was a kid, I thought, reasoned, acted like a kid. But when I became an adult, I grew up to be a man. Hear what I'm saying? There becomes a time when you're going to grow up. Part of that time is now. Here's the process. Now watch this. I'm not going to make you do anything. If you want to drink, fine. All I'm saying today is that there's a price you're paying for it. I'm saying that some of you that are sitting here right now, you already paid a price, or you will pay a price, but it ought to be a choice that you make. But you can't make a good choice about your life unless you hear all the information. You've been bombarded with so much negative information, and no one is telling you about the consequences that you have to pay. Even as a kid, you have to pay the price. I paid the price, you have to pay the price. My whole life, you know what they did? They pointed fingers at me because I was from the wrong side of the tracks. They said I would die before I was 21 years old. They put a curse on my life. They put a curse on my life, and I almost died. And very few people bought in the word. Very few people told me that I could still make it. I'm saying today that you can make it regardless of what you come out of. I was in a school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'll never forget it as long as I live. When I got to the school, the police are out there, metal detectors. They banging, slanging at the school. 1,500 kids, Memorial High School. And I'll never forget when I walked in and started speaking, and we had a real good time. There were a couple of people there that were challenging, but we got past all that. We got past the 5%ers. To make a long story short, I presented my case to them like I'm going to present today, and I'm going to say it again. Do what you got to do. No one can make you do anything. No one can make choices for your life but you. But I'm telling you, there's a price that you have to pay for it. To make a long story short, I spoke that day, all kind of gang members. But I came back a year later, and I'll never forget it. I was walking down the hallway, and a young man ran up behind me. He said, "Joseph," and I turned around. And he told me about a little girl who was at the assembly. I never met her. He told me her story. She was in the newspaper. I said, "Get me the article." This is the article. You got to read it. Here was a young girl, 15 years old. Like 4 million other kids that I've spoken to, lectured to. That girl left the assembly, and she made a choice about her body. We had talked about being African. We talked about the whole sexual revolution kind of thing, and I presented information. I said, now you got to make up your mind as to what you're going to do. Never met the girl, but she left her that day. Not long after that, she got pregnant. 16 years old. This young girl, I want you to see it. This young girl, 16 years old, carried the baby for 9 months. 9 months, her little baby's inside of her womb. At the end of her pregnancy, the article reads, her mom and dad went to the grocery store one night. She went into the bathroom with the help of her sister. She started having this baby. The baby came out. This girl took a knife, cut the cord, and stabbed the baby 21 times. After she stabbed this baby 21 times, she broke every bone in this baby's body, and she dumped it in the trash can. I suggest today to you, I submit today to you, that what she did was wrong. What she did was wrong. But yet you will have people that will get in front of you, and they will tell you that there are no absolutes in life. They're telling you an absolute lie. If I was to take a survey right now, 95% of you, not the 5%, because the 5% think it's funny, the 95% of you sitting here right now, if I was to ask you right or wrong, you would say what she did was wrong. Therefore, let me suggest today to you this. There are absolutes in life. There's right and there's wrong. Some of you that are sitting here right now are doing things that are wrong based on wrong information. But there's right and there's wrong. There are absolutes in life. And I want to challenge, it's got nothing to do with you being black or white. It's not a cultural thing. It's what's right and what's wrong. And so I want to challenge you again to just rethink the way that you're thinking, because some of the ways that you're thinking is wrong. Some of you that are sitting here right now, that if you don't change your mind, and hurry up and change your mind, if you don't lay a foundation down, and you're going to grow up one day and be out there in the real world, and you're not going to be prepared for it. You can't graduate as a senior and walk out this place with a monkey on your back. You get drunk every weekend, and now you go to college, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. If you don't make it, it's not going to be because of the fact of your parents or anybody else. You're not going to make it because you're going to choose not to make it. I want to challenge you today. If there's ever time in your life for you to be real, if there's ever time in your life for you to think about your life, we're not talking about kids in another country, we're talking about you right now. Some of you already have alcohol problems. Some of you might have other drug-related problems, and I'm telling you, it'll never get better. It'll never get better. You'll eventually have to pay a price for it. I wrote a book called Prison of the American Dream. It talks about my background. I was a gang leader for a big part of my life. My father was a killer. My father never came to my school. My father never taught me about college. My father never told me about God. My father never did anything to me but teach me how to be a thug. I've got 12 brothers and sisters. Watch this here. And on the weekends, my father taught us how to fight. In the book, I talk about my father moving back all the furniture. Then I would fight my brothers. I got 8 of them. I would fight my brothers. And after a while, they would take me down. That's how I was raised. My father didn't know any better. He taught me what he knew. But he should have taught me other stuff. But watch this here. The seed that he planted. Man, he planted the seed to a monster. There would be nights on the weekend. All the dope dealers and folks would come to my house. And there was always 1 or 2 drunks that would be in our house. And they would upset my father. My father would say, go get him. He would sick me on grown men like I was a dog or something. And I would take those grown men down, me and my brother. But there was something so crazy about it, is that when I smelt that power, when I smelt that blood, I couldn't get over it. I never could shake it my whole life. My whole life I was violent, based on what I had been taught. Do I love my mom? Do I love my dad? Yeah, I love my mom, I love my dad. But they taught me wrong. So I grew up to be a thug. I was a gang leader for a big part of my life. That's what that one book talks about. But I'm telling you, there are consequences to every choice you're making. There are some of you that are sitting here right now. You are reaping what you sowed in middle school. There were choices you made in middle school that now you got to deal with that right there. But watch this here. And they would say that I would die. I paid a price for being a gang member. You say, what price did you pay? Then you still here. Well, I've been burned before.